Hey, this is SCXCR, and I'm going to warn you right now. One, this is pretty much going to turn into a rant video. So, if that's not your thing, stop watching. Two, this is going to be a rant video about Bloody War and Hudson. So, if those two things do not interest you at all, if you don't really care, don't watch this, or any of the other parts of this, because you're not going to find any of it entertaining. Hell, most of you that are interested in this aren't going to find it entertaining either. This is basically for my own benefit. But, running out of that. But, the more I look back at it, when I did those YouTube poop videos of the two Bloody War endings, and that wasn't the entire endings that I even did. It was just these little parts that I kept manipulating. And when I look back at the Bloody War 4 review, sorry. Okay, I think I'm good now. When I look back at the Bloody War 4 review, I realized that there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about that I couldn't get to, because I was focusing on that one particular game. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about the entire series in general. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but in my opinion, Bloody War 2 was the best of the series. And one reason that I think that is two words: story mode. Think about this. How many fighting games do you own where there is a clear presented story, which is not just presented when you select a character and prepare to fight, but is explained through each subsequent fight? That's what story mode was in Bloody War 2. And that is something that I think the series would sorely miss for each coming installment. Because they would explain what was going on. Bloody War 3 explained like a general plot, and then explained what your character was doing. Then you went through all the fights and you got your ending. That's great. Bloody War Primal Fury explained a general idea of what was going on. You did not know what your character was doing at the time. And then they got their own ending. Bloody War 4 explained nothing until you got to the last two fights. Unless you were Yugo, or Nagi, or there were like two people in the game that got more screen time than the last two fights to explain anything resembling a story. Now, that's done. My problem is, I don't think Hudson had any idea what they were doing with the story beyond 2. And I really hate to say this because I like the game, but Bloody War 3 is really where things went downhill. Because Bloody War 3, you start getting away from the whole humans versus zoanthropes idea. And you start going into this apparently zoanthropes versus zoanthropes idea. Basically what's going on is there's this tabula thing. And that's where Xeon comes into play. And I don't mind Xeon. I mean, the yaoi fangirls need something in their lives. And you will not convince me otherwise, that Xeon was not at least somewhat the basis for Dante from Devil May Cry. Put the two together. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but that's my opinion. Anyway, the tabula is basically this magic thing which, you know what, I'm not even going to try to explain it, because that would just make this video even longer than it already has to be. But, basically, this mark appears on people, and who are zoanthropes, and it kills them, for whatever reason. And you fight through, and you try to figure out what's going on. And it just occurred to me that I haven't actually played the Bloody War games in a while, so a lot of what I'm saying is not going to make a lot of sense, even to me. And if anyone's fact-checking me out there, please leave something in the comments. And there's a Bloody Roar wiki you could probably use to look all of this up. I know because I've been to it, and there you go. But Bloody Roar 3. Wait, I already talked about Bloody Roar 3. I'm going to get off of that. Bloody Roar Primal Fury. Basically, the idea behind that one is there is a Zoanthrope colony. And they are doing some kind of fighting tournament between Zoanthropes for a cash prize. And apparently, while this is going on, there are some kinds of experiments that are going on behind the scenes. The problem with that is they don't talk about it at all. There are a couple endings in the game where there's mention of it. There are a couple of endings where it looks like they might have done something about it, but it's not explained. For example, Yugo's ending in Primal Fury or Extreme, potato. Only difference between the two is the computer-generated cutscenes in Extreme, which are some of the ugliest things I've ever seen. I'm convinced the only reason they made those was that so that people would stop thinking Sheena was a guy. But Yugo's ending for Primal Fury or Extreme is him basically beating the shit out of Kronos. Then Gato comes in with a bunch of soldiers. Gato and his soldiers are told to stand down by Yugo. Yugo and Kronos, I guess, fight again, and Yugo wins. And then Yugo rides off on a motorcycle. That doesn't explain anything. Gato's ending. He basically signs this treaty with these people from the Zoanthrope colony, while someone in the shadows grins evilly and disappears. Again, nothing is explained, nothing is resolved. And then you get into some of the other characters, like Bakuryu's ending is just ridiculous. It doesn't solve anything. For his last fight, he fights Yugo, and they basically have like a big brother, little brother moment, and Yugo gives him a noogie. I am not kidding. So they address the actual storyline even less with some of these people's endings. Bloody Roar 4. Now, here's my question. How are you supposed to know that there is a story in this game when... You know what, I should ask this. How are you supposed to know that there is a story in the game when they don't address it until the end? How are you supposed, like, for Bloody Roar 3, at least they explain stuff before you started fighting people. Bloody Roar Primal Fury, they explain stuff before you started fighting people. Bloody Roar 4, you choose a character, you beat up people, and then at the end of the game, for like the last two fights, then you get the story. Beyond that, you have no idea what's going on unless you watch the full introduction, which, trust me, you shouldn't. It sucks. Because in the intro, they have these random clips over this horribly inappropriate music, where they basically show Reiji going, here, he's in here, and then they show Yugo going, what did you do to Nagi? And then Mana goes, the seal, oh no! And then Ryoho goes, that's basically the only story you have to go off. So, well, when you start the game, you have that Reiji is looking for something in a shrine, Yugo is pissed off about Nagi, Mana likes seals, and Ryoho is a bad Arnold Schwarzenegger impressionist who apparently explodes.